Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna continue the story What If MQB Gave Naruto the Ultimate Dojutsu Part 12. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
Naruto, Shizune, and Kurenai had gathered in front of a gate. As Naruto and the other Jonin surrounded the forest by the gates, it reminded him of the Chunin exams. "Are you ready, Shizune ni Kurenai-chan?" Naruto inquired, and both of his companions nodded. The gates soon swung open, and every Jonin dashed through them. They dashed into the trees and scattered throughout the forest in search of various scrolls. Naruto, Shizune, and Kurenai dashed through the trees, their eyes darting around in search of scrolls. They only had 3 days to complete this task, so there was no need to rush for the time being. The three were aware of the dangers in the area, but Naruto had spent many days here and was much more accustomed to it. Kurenai and Shizune were following him, and the blonde moved forward. He quickly stopped, surprising the girls, and they also stopped. "All right, I'm going to narrow my search," Naruto said as he closed his eyes. He yelled and made a few hand signs. "Byakugan," yelled Naruto, his eyes flashing with the Hyuga clan's Dojutsu. Naruto searched the forest for any scrolls that could be found, and while he found a few, the others could have been well hidden from even his Byakugan. Naruto returned his eyes to their ocean blue hue and turned to face the two Jonin-level ladies. "All right, there are a few scrolls, so let's get to them before anyone else," Naruto said, nodding to the two. They dashed for the nearest scroll in order to finish this quickly. Compound Namikaze. Everyone gulped as they watched Naruto and his team go through their trail. "Do you think he'll be okay?" Fu asked, not wanting to lose someone close to her. "He'll be fine, I'm sure. After all, he's our favorite blonde," Haku assured everyone with a gentle smile. Kasumi was looking more intently than everyone else before the sound of someone breaking the silence. "How do all of you know this guy?" Teuya inquired, her voice full of curiosity. Everyone turned to her and smiled as Haku was the first to speak. "He saved me from wasting my life and taught me to live for myself and the person I love," Haku said, blushing slightly. "I wanted to start a family with him, and he was the first human I fell in love with. I would give anything for Naruto-sama," Kasumi exclaimed, giggling. "He gave me a home while I was traveling. And he's also very cute and amazing," Fu said quietly. But everyone heard her. "He trusted me and loved me for who I was. He didn't hate me despite the pain I caused him," Kyuubi replied, leaving a clone behind to ensure nothing went wrong. "I'm simply his mother, who was furious when she found out about her son and gave that damn council a piece of her mind." Kushina chuckled as everyone backed away slightly. "I don't know much, but he's a good man. I know it because I'm his fiancé." Yujito smiled, having changed her mind about Naruto. "This guy, what's so amazing about him and the fact that all of you are sharing him?" Teuya wondered, unable to grasp the significance of Naruto despite what everyone told her. "He's strong," Fu replied. "He sees us all as equals," Kasumi responded. "He keeps his promises to us, and he'd rather die than see any of us suffer," Haku explained. Teuya sucked her teeth as she looked around at everyone who was smiling and talking about Naruto's good points. She simply didn't understand, and Kimimaro noticed it. Teuya had spent her entire life alone or with cretins like Orochimaru, so it must have been difficult for her to comprehend how Naruto's clan girls could see Naruto in ways she couldn't. "Teuya, I might have just Naruto-sama, but I know I can trust him. You'll have to see for yourself," Kimimaro said to her, and Teuya mentally cursed as she left the room. "Do you think she's okay?" Fu inquired, and everyone shrugged, but Kimimaro reassured them all. "Don't worry about her, she'll come around sooner or later, but she's just curious as to why Naruto would help her and me for no reason since it's never happened before," Kimimaro told them, and everyone nodded before returning their gaze to see Naruto, Shizune, and Kurenai land on the ground in front of a scroll. "Looks like he found one," Fu said, but Kyuubi's eyes narrowed. "It's not that easy, and he knows it. I've trained Naruto-kun to know such things," Kyuubi said, causing everyone to tense up. Naruto, Shizune, and Kurenai are present. The three Jonin stood in front of a scroll that had become stuck in the ground. It had the earth symbol on it, and Naruto reached for it before stopping, letting Shizune and Kurenai see that he, too, realized it. "It's never this easy, is it?" Naruto asked, causing Shizune and Kurenai to shake their heads in disbelief. Naruto closed his eyes and sighed. "We know you're there, so get your $sign out here," yelled the blonde, and three Anbu emerged, looking as menacing as they could with their animal masks on. "Well, it appears that the blonde isn't as dense as we thought, because that wire wouldn't cut his hand off if he didn't notice," an Anbu said to his team, and Naruto's brow twitched. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? It was kind of obvious, but I guess the Anbu aren't so great that they can afford to underestimate me, Naruto said as he opened his eyes to reveal the Sharingan. Shizune and Kurenai gradually took their respective positions after seeing the Dojutsu. Well, it appears you have some balls, kid, and I'll show you what an Anbu can do, the one in the center said as he charged Naruto, causing his team to sweat drop. There he goes ignoring the plan. Again, he's going to get killed one of these days doing that, said another male-sounding Anbu as the feminine one responded. Don't I know it, but since he started it, we might as well fight now, the girl Anbu said as they charged Naruto and his team. Shizune nodded as Naruto turned to face her. She quickly performed her hand signs and took a deep breath. Shizune yelled, Ninpo, Dokujiri, as she blew a poisonous gas that engulfed the entire area. As they watched everyone vanish into the mist, the Anbu quickly backed away from it. They soon split up after avoiding a kick from Naruto, which made the blonde smile. Okay, you got that one, but I'm not done yet, Naruto said as he backflipped. Shizune appeared from behind him, widening one of the Anbu's eyes. Naruto, Shizune, and Kurenai had been practicing for this, and they were doing quite well. Shizune backed away, and Naruto dealt with two Anbu at the same time. The blonde quickly drew two swords and clashed with the Anbu, relying on all the training his mother had given him. He noticed another Anbu being distracted by Kurenai and Shizune while the blonde attempted to keep the other two's attention on him. What's the matter, kid? Is it difficult to fight the two of us at the same time? One of them asked, kicking Naruto into a tree. As he rose to his feet, the blonde exclaimed. He grinned madly before cracking his neck. Are you kidding? I'm having a great time. Databao, Naruto exclaimed as he rose to his feet. He went through his hand signs and finished with a big grin. Naruto yelled, Hayaten, Meiki Hyoso, as ice mirrors formed around the two Anbu. They both appeared cautious, but Naruto did not enter yet. He quickly summoned two clones to his side, who each entered the ice mirrors. Tell me, can you keep up with this speed? Naruto inquired as the two clones vanished through the mirrors. The two Anbu attempted to dodge, but the two Narutos were quick and managed to land a series of hits on them both. This kid is good, the Anbu said, smirking as the other went through her own hand signs. But he has no idea how to beat people like us, she concluded, slamming the ground. The female Anbu yelled, Daten, Ryu no Jishin, as the ground began to shake violently. As Naruto and his team turned around, the entire forest shifted out of place. Shizune and Kurenai's eyes widened as they saw the trees fall and the ground erupt beneath them. Before Naruto gave a hidden smirk, the three could feel their center of balance completely thrown off. Kyuubi-chan, this HPT is fun. They just used a cage-level jutsu to throw off my own. Thank you for training me or I would have never experienced this, Naruto said, and Kyuubi nodded gently. I want to please Naruto-kun. Now show them how good you are, Kyuubi said, and Naruto nodded as the tremors became more intense. Shizune and Kurenai were struggling to keep their balance, but Naruto wasn't done yet. He'd learned a lot growing up, and he wasn't about to stop now. See, brat, this is a cage-level jutsu right here for ya, an Anbu yelled, and Naruto grinned even more as his ice mirrors and clones shattered. The blonde took a step back before summoning three clones. Oh, don't worry, I'll show you something as well, Naruto said as he and his clones practiced their hand signs. Shizune and Kurenai felt the need to back up as they finished. Katen, Karyu Dan no Jutsu, yelled Naruto, hurling the blazing fire at the Anbu. Futen, Daidappa, yelled a clone, blowing a huge burst of wind into the flames. Raiden, Tsubaim, yelled the next clone, and the last clone finished. Hayaten, Cry no Nami, the Narutos exclaimed as the Anbu's eyes widened. Doesn't this kid want to challenge us? The Anbu asked, getting a nod from her two partners as they were engulfed in the four colliding jutsus, causing a huge explosion that rang throughout the forest. Everyone covered their eyes as dust kicked up all around them. Shizune asked, Naruto-kun, isn't that a little overboard? Naruto shook his head. No, they made it. Now I believe it is time for us to part ways. Shizune and Kurenai were perplexed by Naruto's words. It took some time, but the three Anbu returned to the destroyed clearing only to discover that their targets were no longer present. They appear to have gotten away. I despised that brat before they heard a voice, one of them said. Alright, we got the scroll. Let's get out of here before they catch up, Naruto said as he, Shizune, and Kurenai dashed into the trees, disappearing as the Anbu chuckled. Is he really expecting it to be that simple? Naruto poked his head from a bush and chuckled as he tossed the scroll up and down, one of them said as the three ran after them, leaving the place vacant. Well, that went off quite well, Naruto said as Kurenai and Shizune emerged from behind two trees, surprised at how well his plan worked. I'll never understand the limits of the cage bunshin technique, Shizune told them as Naruto collapsed to the ground. Naruto, how are you doing? Kurenai inquired, and the blonde nodded. He just didn't want to use something so chakra intensive, even with his limited reserves. Kurenai-chan, you're just fine. I just need a rest, Naruto stated as his eyes returned to their normal blue color. So, what's next? We have an earth scroll, so we must find a lighting scroll and a wind scroll. Keeping in mind that there are fakes in this forest, Shizune stated that he was resting on the ground, and Kurenai did the same. We'll just have to look. I couldn't tell you what kind of scrolls I found, so we'll have to go through them all, Naruto said, making Kurenai and Shizune nod as they rested in the forest. And soon small tremors and explosions came from all directions, making them curse. I guess everyone else is fighting as well, Naruto said as they tried to relax for a little longer before moving, which was made all the more difficult by the multiple explosions, destruction, and random incidents. Man, the Chunin exams have nothing on this, Naruto said, prompting the two girls to nod. Naruto cursed as the sun set. We need to get moving, Kurenai-chan and Shizune-chan. The creatures in this place come out at night. And trust me, you don't want to be here when they do. Let's get out of here, Databeo Naruto informed them, and the three took off for a small cave that Naruto was familiar with. They arrived at the location by nightfall, and gradually secluded themselves inside. They also noticed it was raining and decided it would be best to continue in the morning. We may require a new strategy. Even if Naruto-kun did well against two Anbu, which is impressive in and of itself, I believe we should employ a different strategy, Shizune suggested. And Kurenai sighed as she brushed her hair. I concur. I was able to trap that third Anbu in a Jinjutsu, but he was on the verge of breaking it until you performed that jutsu combination. It reminds me of a mission I was on at the time. Kurenai nodded, and Naruto took out a scroll, unsealed a canteen of water, and offered it to Shizune and Kurenai. Ladies of the sea, Naruto inquired, and the two quickly took turns drinking the cold water Naruto provided. They made it through the night by taking turns standing guard over the area, spending time doing their own thing while on guard, and were lucky enough not to run into any more trouble while sleeping. Shizune yawned, as did Kurenai, and Naruto stretched himself awake as they exited the cave. They quickly assessed their surroundings and walked out. Okay, it's only day 2, so let's get going. If nothing goes wrong, we should have the other two by the end of today, Naruto said as they dashed off towards another scroll. They hadn't seen anyone in a while as Naruto hopped to the top of a tree. He quickly took the scroll for the edge and cursed, as it was a water scroll with no use. So, what are we going to do with this one? Naruto inquired, and Shizune smiled. Let us keep it going. Simply in case. I have a positive feeling about it, she said, making Naruto and Kurenai wonder what she was thinking. But they could think about it later, and a single hand sign went up with a slight grin, unbeknownst to them. Hi, someone yelled as an explosion ripped through the tree they were standing on, and Naruto, Shizune, and Kurenai slightly cursed before Naruto grabbed them and threw a kunai at a tree a few feet away from them, then vanished in the hurricane and reappeared on the ground. They appear to be becoming more cunning. Some prefer to remain hidden, while others prefer to fight. How lovely, Kurenai said, convincing Naruto and Shizune to agree, and they continued on without looking around for anyone. Naruto approached a scroll and noticed it was a wind scroll, so he took it as it completed the other part of their scroll set. Naruto placed it in a blood-sealed scroll as they noticed they were already in the middle of the forest where the tower was. He saw two Anbu arrive. Their eyes narrowed behind their masks at him, and they quickly drew their swords as Naruto cracked his knuckles. So there's more today. This is getting better. Kurenai-chan, Shizune-chan, I believe it is past time for us to get serious. As he twisted his Sharingan in his eyes, Naruto said. So you're another Sharingan user. We know how to deal with you and will demonstrate what we learned for Kakashi Hatake, Naruto chuckled, leaving everyone wondering what was so funny. Well, I'll teach you things that even Kakashi-sensei doesn't know, Naruto said as he strained his eyes on one of the Anbu's pieces of armor, which quickly began to burn in black flames, widening the Anbu's eyes. What on earth is this? He screamed as Naruto came to a halt, his eyes still not used to the strain of the Manjikaiou to such an extent. The Anbu quickly removed the armor, causing Naruto to smile slightly. You scumbag. You're going to pay for it. Naruto shifted his Sharingan back to normal and grabbed his three swords, which quickly flared as Naruto and the Anbu clashed. Kurenai and Shizune moved back as they went through their hand signs. Jinjutsu, Zetsubo no Aki, they said together as the ground began to split in half. The Anbu gritted their teeth as they backed away from the pit, but Naruto wasn't about to let them get away from him. Not done yet, Naruto said as he kicked one of them into the air, causing the blonde to create 3 clones as they each flew into the air. And Naruto brought all 3 of his swords together and closed his eyes as his clones formed 2 Rasengans in each other's hands. Rasengan, they yelled as they slammed the Anbu in the stomach, only for the Anbu to vanish in a substitution, causing Naruto to curse as he came to a halt, and the blonde turned his head as he narrowly avoided a swipe to the head. A Hokage must assess the situation and take appropriate action. Are you capable of doing so? Naruto chuckled as he brought his fire sword to the Anbu's neck, only for him to parry the blow and counter as all 3 of Naruto's swords flew into the air, and Naruto cursed as he dodged a swipe and grabbed all 3 back in midair. Of course, I'm capable of doing so. Do you think I'm not directing Shizune-chan and Kurenai-chan right now? Shizune grabbed Naruto and threw him higher into the air, prompting Naruto to inquire. Naruto-kun, are you ready? Kurenai asked as she appeared behind him, and the blonde grinned and shook his head as Kurenai grabbed him. The 3 of them had been practicing this attack for days, and it was finally working like a charm as Shizune made another hand sign. I still think this is a bad idea, but I'll go with it, Shizune said after finishing her hand signs, the Anbu looking up in awe. Take a deep breath. Dokukiri, Ninpo, Shizune yelled as she surrounded the area in a poisonous mist, signaling Naruto and Kurenai to attack. Okay, Kurenai-chan, I know you don't use ninjutsu very often, but make an exception this time, Naruto said, and Kurenai sighed. Fine, Naruto. Kurenai sighed as she and Naruto exchanged hand signs. Kurenai yelled, Katen Gakuku no Jutsu, as Naruto finished his hand signs. Futen, Daidappa, Naruto yelled as he sent the team jutsu into the mist, causing it to explode. The 3 Jonin dropped to the ground as Naruto huffed, only for the Anbu to emerge from the trees, chuckling. We're called Anbu Brat. We can handle that, so you'll have to do more than that, they said this as Naruto sighed and narrowed his eyes at them. Okay, you want big. Then I'll give you something big. Naruto knelt down on one knee, leaving Kurenai and Shizune puzzled. Naruto grinned, causing the 2 Jonin to widen their eyes. Naruto's shadow stretched out and shot for the Anbu, causing the 2 to raise their eyebrows. They quickly dodged the shadow, only for Naruto to make it follow the both of them. Naruto even has the Nara clan's Dojutsu, Shizune exclaimed in awe before seeing an Anbu approaching her. She quickly dodged the intended strike and grabbed the Anbu's arm, allowing Naruto to easily capture him. Thank you, Shizune, Naruto said, grinning as he walked over to the other Anbu, both of whom were subdued in Naruto's jutsu as the blonde chuckled. Success for Cageman. Excellent work, Shizune and Kurenai-chan, Naruto told the 2 girls, who both nodded and smiled, that they had to be dealing with new Anbu because most Anbu wouldn't be this easily captured. So, what should I do with you now? Naruto inquired before performing his hand signs, and the Anbu did the same. Hehe kid, whatever jutsu you do, we do it too, so good luck, the Anbu said. But all they saw was Naruto's grin deepen. Thank you, Databeo. I'll keep that in mind. But for now, I'll do something neither of you can do. You told me to do something significant, so I will, the Anbu gasped as Naruto ordered Shizune and Kurenai behind him, and the sand quickly rose above Naruto's feet as the Anbu's eyes widened. Sabaku Teso, Naruto yelled, summoning a massive sand wave that flooded the 2 Anbu in a large portion of the forest sand as the blonde stepped down and placed his hand over the sand. Sabaku Soso, Naruto said as the sand compressed and slammed into the ground, crushing whatever was inside. Shizune and Kurenai shifted their stance as the earth settled, making everyone feel slightly better. Was that really necessary, Naruto-kun? Shizune inquired, and Naruto replied with a nod. Yes, I knocked them out. They'll be just fine. I could have killed them if I wanted, but it's not in my best interests to kill our own shinobi. Kurenai couldn't agree more with Naruto's response. Besides, I believe we've arrived. We're probably supposed to be here anyway. They only had a day left, but it wouldn't make much sense to leave, so they were in a stump, but Kami smiled on them as they saw 3 people. This is really bothering me. How many more scrolls must we find? Asuma inquired as Kakashi emerged from the clearing. Asuma, we have 2 of our 3 scrolls, plus 1 extra. Guy, all we need now is a water scroll. Kakashi inquired, and Guy emerged from the clearing. That's correct. Then we'll be able to enter the building. At least, I believe this is the location. Guy said this before they saw Naruto, Shizune, and Kurenai. Hello everyone. You appear to be interested in a water scroll, don't you? Shizune pulled one out with a gentle smile on her face when Naruto asked. It appears that they have what we require. So, should we go to war for it? Guy inquired before Kakashi shut his eyes. Naruto, as your former sensei, will you not hand over the scroll? Kakashi inquired, and Naruto burst out laughing. Sorry sensei, but I'm determined to win this thing, and if that means knocking you out, Databeo, Naruto said, and Kakashi's sweat dropped. So we have an extra scroll as well. I'm powerless to use this lightning scroll. Naruto narrowed his eyes as Kakashi said, and the blonde chuckled as it was exactly what Naruto and his team needed. That's exactly how you are, Kakashi-sensei. So, are you going to hand over that scroll to me, or will I have to take it from you? Naruto inquired as Asuma and Guy tensed, as did Kurenai and Shizune. Compound Namikaze. Well, it appears that the shithead doesn't know how to negotiate, Tayuya said, and almost everyone nodded in agreement. Let us not write him off just yet. I'm sure he'll come up with something. Following that, he is our most unpredictable ninja. Everyone laughed as they realized Haku was right about Naruto. The Hokage mansion. Well, it appears that the brat is quite cunning when he wants to be, said as they all looked at Tsunade's crystal ball. Tsunade chuckled and nodded, finding herself checking in on Naruto and his team a lot more than the other Jonin. I'm not sure if that brat understands what he's doing. I hope he doesn't die. C's remark made almost everyone laugh, but Tsunade shook her head. Please, that brat has more lives than a cat, Tsunade said, making everyone laugh before they heard panting in the seat beside them. You three, come on. That paperwork is still months behind schedule. Tsunade smiled as the three Jonin who quit cried anime tears as they signed papers. Why the hell did you quit, man? Damn it, this is worse than the HPT. The Jonin chastised his teammate. What if I have to sign papers just to live? I'll do it. The second yelled, and the third sighed. Damn it, close both your traps and sign. I'd like to return home as soon as possible. As C and Darui sweat dropped, he said as they continued, making Tsunade chuckle. This woman is insane. They all fought at the same time as Tsunade laughed creepily. You haven't seen anything yet, have you? Things are just getting started, Tsunade said, and everyone wondered what she had in store for them. Naruto is back. I'd fight you for it, Kakashi-sensei. I've always wanted to fight you, but as the Anbu said at the academy, a Hokage is militaristic, economical, and political, which means diplomatic. Databeo. So, you have a scroll I want and I have a scroll you want, so trade? Naruto asked, holding up his scroll, and Kakashi smiled. Everyone else, especially Tayuya, gasped out loud, their mouths hitting the floor. Alright, Naruto, Kakashi said as he and Naruto exchanged scrolls, grinning as he walked back to Shizune and Kurenai. We have what we came for, so let's get inside, Naruto said as he opened the door, and Kurenai and Shizune chuckled and nodded as they followed Naruto inside. I think things will be even more difficult with him around, but I'll take anything to avoid doing Tsunade paperwork. Samas, I'd rather die than live, Kakashi laughed as Asuma said. Well, with this HPT, you might just die, so stay alert, he warned as the three entered. Everyone narrowed their eyes as Naruto sighed as the entire room was enveloped in darkness once more. More steps. They really enjoy making people walk, don't they? As they walked through the lights, Naruto asked, making them chuckle, and they noticed Anbu standing at key points across the floors, as if Naruto and the others were being escorted around. Soon, an Anbu stood in front of them, signaling them to stop, and everyone did so as the Anbu chuckled. Not too shabby. I honestly expected you to last longer or at the very least run in her with your tails between your legs, he said, making everyone growl, or at the very least look at him with disdain in their eyes. And what exactly does that imply? Shizune inquired, and the Anbu simply shrugged. Think whatever you want, but it doesn't change the fact that you all made it. I should add in 2 days, even if most are still fighting. Anyway, now is the time for everyone to unwind. You have 1 day to do whatever you want, and I recommend that you make the most of it because your third event will begin at the end of the day tomorrow. Naruto sighed as the Anbu spoke. How many events are there in this thing? Naruto inquired, and the Anbu laughed. About 4, don't worry, the 4th will be the most entertaining for all of you, the Anbu said, making everyone tense before escorting them away and into some rooms designed for everyone. In their room, Naruto, Shizune, and Kurenai sighed and smiled at each other. So this is actually quite entertaining, isn't it? Naruto asked, and they nodded. The blonde rummaged through his belongings before pulling out Raymond's journal. Shizune and Kurenai wondered what he could be reading, but said nothing as they washed up while Naruto continued to read. The blonde sighed as he picked up where he left off in his book about Raymond's swords. He flipped through the journal, but nothing seemed to be about swords until he came to a halt on a particular page. Day 16. I'm not sure how long it's been since I've returned to this journal, but I'm in celebration of one thing. Because of my success with my lightning sword, I've been granted to be one of the Raikage's personal guards. I'm now easily one of the best shinobi he has to offer, but I also realize that he looks at my sword with interest. I fought him about 3 days ago and as expected I lost utterly, but he said, Naruto narrowed his eyes and grasped his lightning sword. He quickly unsheathed it and examined the gleaming metal. He traced his finger over it, gradually becoming mesmerized. The sword seemed to be calling to him for some reason. Maybe he just needed some sleep, but he knew something was wrong with the swords and he was dying to find out what it was. So, against his better judgment, Naruto kept reading the journal. He skipped what seemed like a month in this book because it didn't explain much about the swords or Raymond himself, just about daily events. He eventually came to a halt near something that piqued his interest. "What are you reading, Naruto?" Kurenai inquired, and Naruto handed her the book. He told her it was all about the swords in front of him, which piqued Kurenai's interest, but that was for another time. "Perhaps you should go see Yugao about this. If anyone knows anything about swords, it's her," Kurenai suggested, and Naruto kept that in mind. "Got it. Thanks, Kurenai-chan," Naruto said. And then something unexpected happened. Kurenai kissed Naruto on the cheek, making the blonde blush. "What was that for?" he inquired, and Kurenai shrugged. "Just for teaching me and Anko, and also for being you," Kurenai said, closing the door that separated their rooms as Naruto smiled. "You sure know how to make a woman jealous," Kyuubi said, and Naruto chuckled before reclining in his chair. "Come on, Kyuubi-chan, you know I love you too. After all, who doesn't love a woman with red hair, red slitted eyes, and a sexiness that drives you insane?" Naruto asked, making Kyuubi blush. Don't I feel special?" Kyuubi asked, and Naruto chuckled and nodded as usual. He then returned to his book and began reading on the page that piqued his interest. Day 34. "It's been a month and a few weeks since I got my sword, and I've really risen through the ranks, but I know this can't last. Simply because I've discovered a secret that the sword that embodies the element of water is probably somewhere in Kiri. I tried talking to Reikage about it, but he said that I couldn't go even if there was a chance of finding a legendary sword." Naruto sighed as he stuffed the book back into his bag. He was completely perplexed as he noticed it was getting dark. He had no idea if anyone else had made it this far besides Kakashi's team, but he was certain that someone had. However, the blonde was exhausted and fell asleep on the couch, allowing the night to claim him. Namikaze compound at night. "Well, now that that's out of the way, I can finally get started on what I wanted to start," Fu said as everyone looked on. The Nanabi Jinchuriki smiled while crossing her fingers. "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu," Fu yelled as a clone approached her. Her fingertips glowed with white seals as she smiled. "Alright, based on what Naruto-kun taught me, these are containment release seals with a small backdoor safety seal," Fu thought to herself as she directed the clone to lift its shirt. The clone complied and displayed its seal. Fu rolled her eyes and chuckled. "So my seal is a hexagon with a small blitzer seal. How nice. Whoever sealed Nanabi inside me obviously didn't know what they were doing. How fortunate," Fu said as she slammed the 5 seal into the clone, causing it to gasp and wince. Fu and everyone else in the house covered their eyes as the seals glowed. As the light faded, Yujito and Nibai wondered what she was doing. Fu smiled brightly as everyone opened their eyes. "Yes, I did it," Fu exclaimed as everyone returned their attention to her clone or whatever was supposed to be there. Everyone noticed a tall woman, about Kyuubi's height, dressed in a dark green kimono. Her light green hair fell past her shoulders. She had green slits in her eyes and was wearing black sandals. "Nanabi, that's Nanabi. Kitten, she's out and I'm willing to bet Kyuubi is too." "How did they get out?" "I want out," Nibai yelled, acting frantic. "So that's how you look," Fu said as Nanabi brushed her hair and stretched her arms and legs slightly. "Aw, it feels good to be out of that cage, even if I have this seal on my arm. Thank you Fu. It was unexpected, but I do thank you. Don't worry, I have no desire for vengeance on you or really anyone. Well, I won't say that because I want to kill some people involved in this, but I won't because I'd rather not go back to that cage." "Thank you, Fu," Nanabi said as she patted Fu. "No problem," Fu said, and Nanabi nodded while her gaze wandered around the room. "Where is it, Naruto-kun, so I can thank him as well?" Nanabi asked as Fu's sweat dropped along with everyone else in the house and Nibai was in a frenzy. "Kitten, I demand that you ask your fiancé how he taught that girl how to release Nanabi. I don't get it. And I've missed the outside world," Nibai said, as Yujito sighed. She had arrived at the worst possible time for Nibai to become enraged. "Perhaps later," Yujito said as Fu spoke with Nanabi. "Well, Naruto-kun is currently away, but he'll be back soon, so in the meantime, we should all get some sleep because I'm tired," Fu said with a yawn, and everyone nodded as they fell asleep. Naruto is back. Naruto was sound asleep when he felt a slight push on his form. He tried to ignore it, but when he saw Yugao's face, Naruto squinted. Before Naruto's eyes adjusted to her form, she appeared to be smiling. Her hair was draped over his face, allowing him to smell a light fragrance in it. Yugao-chan, Naruto asked, leaning forward. The female Anbu smiled gently as she motioned for him to stand. Naruto quickly rose to his feet, and Yugao grabbed his arm and dragged him out of the room. It happened so quickly that Naruto only had time to grab one sword, his fire sword, which was closest to him and which he preferred the most. Come on, Naruto-kun, it's time for your hidden exam, Yugao said, raising an eyebrow at Naruto. Exam for what? The fourth portion isn't until the day after tomorrow, Naruto said as Yugao dashed into the corridor and up the stairs. Naruto noticed a few teams passing through the door. Shikaku's team and Anko's team were two of them. He smiled when he saw Tsume had made it, but she appeared to be a wreck, though she didn't seem to mind. Yugao dragged Naruto up the stairs, leaving that for later. Naruto almost tripped several times, but regained his footing as soon as he saw Kakashi and Genma. What are you doing here, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto inquired, and Kakashi rubbed his chin. Well, the Anbu woke me up and told me to follow them, and Genma did the same. We're supposed to be waiting for something, Kakashi replied, and Naruto nodded and sat down. Naruto smiled slightly as he noticed Genma yawn. I guess you were sleeping as well, Naruto inquired, and Genma nodded. When they noticed a door in front of them, he chuckled slightly. Did this place always have this door, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto inquired, and Kakashi nodded. Yes, but I've never been inside it before, and I suppose today may be the first, Kakashi replied as Naruto sat down. As Yugao shunshined out of sight, he saw her wave goodbye. Naruto, Kakashi, and Genma waited about 10 minutes before seeing Anko and Shikaku approach them. Well, it looks like Naruto-kun beat us here. I feel like I slacked a little, Anko said as she sat next to Naruto. Meanwhile, Shikaku sat next to Genma, waiting for someone to appear. Soon after, an Anbu entered through the door. Obviously, you four are wondering why we brought you here, the Anbu asked, causing everyone to stare at him as his sweat dropped, but he continued. Don't worry, you're not being disqualified or anything. Rather, this is for a later competition that will take place after the third event. Now, as for why you're here, this is a privilege given to the teams that made it from 1 to 2 days to complete this event. Think of this as a bonus round. The task for this will be quite simple. All you have to do is test how powerful you are with a certain element. No, they all said at the same time, making the Anbu sweat drop. Well, you'll figure it out when you go inside, the Anbu said as a lightning symbol appeared on the top of the door. Everyone raised an eyebrow, but it was Kakashi who rose to his feet. Well, I guess I'll see what it's all about, Kakashi said as he entered the room. Everyone was watching the door with bated breath. After a few moments of silence, everyone heard something. Erg, yelled Kakashi, and everyone wondered what had happened. For a few minutes, they could hear lightning cackle behind the door before there was a massive explosion. As the door opened, everyone held their breath. They saw Kakashi with his hair friend, and the Jonin's clothes were mostly fried. Well, it's not as difficult as you think. Whatever jutsu they use on you, you must return it with twice the power or you fail. Ma, I did mine, so I'm going back to take a shower and go to bed, Kakashi said as he walked away, leaving everyone wondering where he got his calm demeanor. As the kanji for fire appeared, the door quickly closed. Naruto looked at Anko, but she insisted on him going first. Naruto gulped as he stood up and walked through the door. Do you think he'll be okay? Genma asked as the door shut in front of them. It had better be okay or I'm going to hurt those Anbu. Anko worried about Naruto. Meanwhile, the blonde entered and noticed an Anbu on the far corner away from him. Naruto gulped as the Anbu asked, Are you ready, Tokubetsu Jonin? He nodded and gripped his sword. The Anbu quickly went through his hand signs and finished. Katen, Teikoku no Jisai, yelled the Anbu as Naruto grabbed his sword. If what he read in Raymond's journal was correct, then his sword should be capable as well. When he saw the fire coming for him, the blonde took a defensive stance. As the fire slammed into his sword, it flared. Naruto clenched his teeth as he felt the pressure, but his eyes widened as he was pushed back and slammed against the wall. Naruto lowered his sword and examined his hands. They were trembling. A lot. It was different, Naruto reflected before noticing the Anbu's smile. Can you stand it, brat? The Anbu asked, grabbing Naruto's sword. He jumped to his feet and glared. Don't mind me, team. I'll show you how good I am for a Tokubetsu Jonin once more. Naruto yelled as the Anbu repeated the hand signs. Katen, Teikoku no Jisai, yelled the Anbu as the fire smashed Naruto's sword. The blonde gritted his teeth and flared his sword, but he was still blasted into the wall. Naruto cursed as he noticed his hands were slightly burned. Perhaps you should give up now, the Anbu suggested, and Naruto chuckled as he rose to his feet. Do you really think the guy who gives up here will ever be Hokage? Naruto asked, grabbing his sword and rising to his feet. He requested that the Anbu begin, and the Anbu agreed. He directed the fire at Naruto, but the result was the same. The blonde was blown away 3 times. As he stared at his fire sword, Naruto cursed. It was his blade. Raymond described it as embodying fire. It was the Lord of Fire. Naruto stared at his sword as it flared. "You are a strange blade. Why won't you return the attack for me?" Naruto inquired as he rose to his feet. As he struggled to get up, he stumbled. Let go of your fears. Let go of your doubts. Let go and trust in me," a voice said to Naruto. The blonde was dazed, which perplexed the Anbu. His clothes were slightly burned, as were his hands. "Again, go. Can you wield me? If so, return the fire and let it resound in your heart. Your will of fire burns, and keep it burning to wield me," the voice said as Naruto turned to face the Anbu. "Again," Naruto said, rolling his eyes behind his mask. "Look, brat, you might as well give up. I have nothing against you because you and your team got this far. But if I give you one more, you won't be able to do the next event," the Anbu said, and Naruto chuckled. "I'll worry about that, Dadabayo," Naruto said, his sword flaring once more. He smirked as he rose to his feet, stumbling slightly. He abruptly changed from his defensive stance to an attack stance, surprising the Anbu. "And you're just worried about me returning that jutsu of yours right back at your mask-wearing face." Naruto sighed. He mentally chuckled and repeated his hand signs. "Fine kid, don't die. Katen, Teikoku no Jaisai," the Anbu yelled, hurling another ball of fire at the blonde. Naruto smiled as he took his attack stance. Naruto tightened his grip on his sword as the fire collided with it. He cursed as he felt the searing pain of the fire on his hands, but it was all for naught. The pain was gone, as was the burning and the sensation of fire. He no longer felt anything. A small seal was soon forming over his left hand. Naruto twisted his foot as he used his sword to control the flames. The Anbu watched in awe as the blonde yielded his determination before returning the fire with twice the amount of everything. Chakra, power, fire, and energy. Everything the Anbu had to deflect before he had to dodge out of the way of the fire caused a massive explosion. Naruto huffed as he examined his sword, which shimmered in front of him. He returned his attention to the Anbu with a smile. "That's how you do it, Dadabayo," Naruto said, and the Anbu nodded, speechless at Naruto's actions. The blonde chuckled as he exited the room, only to be approached by Shikaku, Genma, and Anko. "Are you okay, Naruto?" Genma inquired, inspecting the blonde's scars and burns. Naruto chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. "Fine, just a little. Burned out," Naruto said as he wished them luck and returned to his room downstairs. When he opened the door, Shizune and Kurenai were waiting for him on the couch. Imagine their surprise when he appeared. "Are you okay, Naruto?" Shizune asked as she placed him on the couch. Shizune glowed her hands over Naruto's body as he muttered that he was fine. Naruto hissed slightly, but sighed contemptuously as Shizune healed him. "What were you doing?" Kurenai inquired, and Naruto smiled slightly. "Just doing some extra credit," Naruto explained, but Kurenai and Shizune clearly wanted an explanation, so the blonde simply told them what had happened. He told them everything they had done, making Shizune and Kurenai even more concerned about him. "You are insane, Naruto," Kurenai scolded, and Naruto nodded. "I'm sorry, Kurenai-chan. I won't worry you like that again," Naruto said, and Kurenai nodded gently as Shizune healed him. Shizune and Kyuubi both took care of most of Naruto's injuries in under 20 minutes. "Well, go to sleep. We don't want you to get any more hurt than you already have. Use the rest of tomorrow for rest," Kurenai asked, and Naruto gulped. "Yes, ma'am," Naruto replied, wondering if she was going to be one of those controlling girlfriend types. But he knew Kurenai would prefer him to be cautious. Naruto was back to sleep in no time, as Shizune and Kurenai also went to bed for the night. They had left their door open in case Naruto decided to act like Naruto, which caused the blonde to chuckle slightly before falling asleep. The following morning, Naruto awoke from his slumber on the couch to find the room empty. He looked at the time and saw that it was late afternoon. He sat up slowly, cursing as he felt pain all over his body. He sighed as he lay on the couch, remembering last night. He struggled to get up after noticing a note on the door. "Naruto, Kurenai and I are going to get some work done with the others who have the day off. We'll be back later in time for the next event. Stay on the couch and rest. Kurenai and Shizune." Naruto sighed and leaned back on the couch, chuckling. Before looking at his book, he winced slightly from the pain. He glanced at Raymond's journal, but his attention was drawn to the sword mythology book on the counter next to it. He looked at both of them before picking up Raymond's journal. He looked it over and thought about it for a while. What does he know about these things that I don't? Kyuso, I wish I knew or had some help. I wish Yugao-chan was here for some help, Naruto thought to himself as the door opened. Ask for something, and you might just get it, Yugao said as she removed her mask. Naruto raised an eyebrow as she sat next to him and gasped. What are you doing here, Yugao-chan? Naruto inquired, and Yugao smiled as she rested her mask on the bed. I'm not in this event, so it's a break for me. I'll be in the next one depending on some things, Yugao said, smiling slightly. Naruto chuckled next to her and leaned back on the couch, wincing as Yugao noticed his pain. I guess you did take the bonus exam, and it looks like you're suffering as a result, Yugao chuckled as Naruto rolled his eyes. Ha ha ha, Yugao-chan, very funny, Naruto said before Yugao calmed down. So, what did you need with me? Yugao asked, and Naruto drew his swords. What do you know about legendary swords? Naruto inquired, and Yugao raised an eyebrow. As she leaned back in her chair, she recalled all of her thoughts. Naruto had to admit that she looked rather hot in her Anbu armor that way, which Yugao seemed to notice but didn't mind being scrutinized like that. She did, but Naruto was the second guy she let glare at her without meeting her blade, the first being Hayate. Well, I know they're a myth, but I could tell you more if I saw them myself, Yugao said, and Naruto smiled. He rose to his feet quickly, though the process was a little strained as he placed his swords on the table. As Yugao looked at him, he unsheathed them all. She stared at them in awe as Naruto touched the wind sword. It howled normally, and then he cackled while touching his lightning sword. Yugao was taken aback by the whole thing, and Naruto touched his fire sword, which burned brightly, leaving Naruto puzzled as to what had happened. Normally, it would flare, but now it was burning much more intensely. These are 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken, Naruto said, holding Yugao's hands. She took out her personal sword and attempted to compare the two. Naruto-kun, your sword would beat mine any day. In fact, I believe your swords are made of the best metal and handled with the purest care I have ever seen. These aren't made by humans or anything. A sword will always have flaws, even a tiny one, but there isn't one anywhere in the entire thing, Yugao asked, and Naruto chuckled as he rubbed the back of his head. Well, funny story about that, Naruto said as he told her where he found them, and she did the only thing he didn't want. She burst out laughing. A sword shop, on a rank missing nin. A storm, anyone will laugh, Yugao said before noticing Naruto's glare and coughing to calm down. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Now, let me see that notebook, Yugao said, and Naruto handed her the book. Yugao took it in her hands and flipped through the pages of Raymond's journal, or at least to the section where Naruto had left off. Well, it appears that he was correct about this type of thing. Don't worry, how about after this HPT I take you to someone who fixes my swords and for now we'll read these over, Yugao suggested. And Naruto agreed. So, with nothing else to do, Yugao spent the entire day with Naruto going over notes from Raymond's journal and transferring them to the sword mythology book he had. As Yugao stood to her feet, it was getting dark for them both. Well, that's enough. I think we should start your event. And your team is waiting for you downstairs, so I'll be going, Yugao said as she sunshined out of sight. As he walked down the stairs, Naruto laughed. How are you feeling, Naruto? Kurama inquired, and the blonde gave her a thumbs up. Never better, Databeo, Naruto said, and Kurama and Shizune agreed. They soon saw all the groups who made it, including theirs, Kakashi's, Genma's, Shikaku's, Anko's, and a few others, as well as the Anbu. Well, it appears that a few of you made it. That's good. Now we will begin the 4th event, which will be a small survival competition. This will be nothing like the Forest of Death as you will also be dealing with the political side of things. You will have to make important decisions as well as be expected of the worst case scenario when at a meeting and act accordingly. Well, it appears that a few of you made it. That's good. Genma, Shikaku, and Anko felt the same way. Naruto and a few other Jonin also appeared. Good now, the other 2 will take a different path, but for the leaders, we will grant you one Anbu of your choice. Be aware that all situations are life-threatening, and they begin at the location with this hint. They see also and protect all. They are the ones who inspire and are fit to lead. From past to present they keep a vigilant watch over their place of birth, the Anbu said to them. Everyone considered it, but some were unsure. Now choose your Anbu, the head Anbu instructed everyone. Kakashi chose his and walked away. Genma, Anko, and Shikaku felt the same way. Naruto smiled as he approached a purple-haired woman wearing a cat mask. Would you mind accompanying me if you have nothing better to do? Naruto inquired, and Yugao laughed. Well, I've got nothing better to do, and besides, I'd like to tell you something about what you did to me while we were talking at the memorial stone, Yugao said as Naruto sweated. He took a step back as Yugao smiled dangerously at him. If you ever put me in a shadow possession again, Naruto-kun, just don't do it. Because truth be told, I kind of like you. You're good company when you want to be, but I'll cut you if you do it again. Yugao asked sweetly, and Naruto nodded quickly. Understood, why Yugao-chan? Now then, let's get going, Naruto said, raising an eyebrow at Yugao. Do you even know where we're going? she asked as Naruto led the female Anbu out the door, waving goodbye to Shizune and Kurenai. Sure, we're going to the Hokage Stone Faces. You're supposed to be an Anbu and you didn't know that. I'm worried about you, Yugao-chan, Naruto said, and Yugao twitched his brow. I'm going to make you regret those words someday. Naruto-kun, Yugao thought as a shiver ran down Naruto's spine. He gulped, wondering if he'd made a big mistake. The two Kenjutsu shinobi were about to leave the Forest of Death. They were on their way to the Hokage Faces, which were quite far away from where they were now. It was an Anbu and a teenager leaving. And as they ran, the Anbu pointed something out to the blonde. You know we have to get there fast or the other Jonin will make you wait, and even though there are multiple rooms at the location, it's best if you don't get relaxed, Yugao told Naruto, who nodded. He sighed and came to a halt in a small field. I know that, Yugao-chan, which is why we're going to take a shortcut, Naruto said as he wrapped his arms around Yugao's waist, making the Anbu slightly blush as they vanished in the Hurricane. They didn't have time to waste, so why were they running when Naruto knew how to use his father's technique? Hokage's expressions. Naruto and Yugao appeared instantly on top of the Hokage's faces. Yugao collapsed to her knees in shock at what had just occurred. That's how it felt to be in the Hurricane. As he looked around, Naruto chuckled at her reaction and waited for Yugao to recover from her shock. He sighed and looked around the village. The blonde smiled as he discovered a location he wanted to protect. As the wind blew across his face, he wondered if anyone else felt this way. Yugao sat up from where she was lying, watching Naruto gaze down at the village. He exuded such a serene aura that she felt at ease with herself. She'd only felt this way when she was with Hayate. She was curious about what she saw in Naruto, but she wasn't hating it. Yugao rose to her feet and tapped Naruto on the shoulder, drawing the blonde's attention to herself. We have to go now, Naruto, Yugao said, and Naruto nodded. The two turned away from the faces and continued walking towards the trees behind them. There wasn't much walking going on because they were only a few feet away. When Naruto and Yugao entered the small forested area, they immediately noticed a small building and narrowed their eyes. Alright, Yugao-chan, let's go, Naruto said as they opened the door, and the purple-haired Anbu nodded. They looked around and discovered that it was completely dark inside. The lights were broken, the stairs were in disarray, and the place was filthy. It appears to have been abandoned, Yugao said, stealing a glance at Naruto, who glared at the dark space for a moment. He closed his eyes for a second and made some hand gestures. Byakugan, Naruto yelled, looking down at the ground. Yugao watched him examine the building's internal structure before Naruto closed his eyes and they returned to their normal color. Yugao-chan, don't move, Naruto said, tensing the Anbu. Did she overlook something? They both remained close to the door, and Naruto looked around the room, as did Yugao. What's the problem, Naruto? Yugao inquired, and the Kyuubi Jinchuriki pointed to the top of the ceiling. Yugao raised an eyebrow as she noticed 3 to 10 explosion tags on the ceiling. Naruto indicated the walls, which displayed more explosion tags. Tags were set to explode on the slightest tap of the building all around them. It's a trap. I completely fell for it. We have to get around this, Naruto said to her, and Yugao couldn't agree more. Compound Namikaze. Well, that's cheap, but rigging an entire building with explosions is rather unsettling, Haku said as everyone looked on. While Kimimaro stood to his feet, they all agreed with her completely. Naruto-sama should be fine. I already have a plan for how he could pass something like that, Kimimaro said, drawing everyone's attention to him. Kushina and Tayuya chuckled and nodded, keeping everyone guessing about what was going on. I see you figured it out as well. I have a way as well, Kushina replied, making everyone tense, but no one said anything because they were waiting to see what Naruto could come up with on his own. Then Abi and Fu smiled as they looked on. They even had their own unique way of doing it. It was all about chakra control. Well, in any case, let's see what the shithead can do, Tayuya said, and everyone remained silent as they watched Naruto consider his options, along with Naruto and Yugao. As Yugao watched, the blonde racked his brain for a few moments. She had a solution as well, but this was a test for Naruto. A Hokage had to be able to work well under pressure and in difficult situations. Yes, they had assistants, but they were the ones in charge and had to think for themselves. On that note, Yugao observed her blonde friend struggle before he unexpectedly smiled. Naruto sighed as he deliberated. He attempted to make sense of everything in front of him. Kyuubi had always taught him that nothing was as it seemed throughout his training. There was always a way out of any situation. He was the only one who had to go that way. It slammed into Naruto. He turned to face Yugao, smiling. How much do you trust me, Yugao-chan? Naruto inquired, and Yugao pondered the question. She was also concerned about the reaction to her response. Yugao tapped her chin before shrugging her shoulders softly. I trust you enough to go with whatever you want, Naruto, so get it done, Yugao said, and the blonde nodded. He quickly walked deeper into the building, and just as he and Yugao had predicted, the place exploded from the seal tags all around it, causing it to explode all around them. Other Jonin and their Anbu stood there watching the place explode into pieces, terrified for whoever was inside. The Namake's eyes widened, as did Tsunade, Darui, and Seize. Everyone gulped, worried about Naruto and Yugao. The explosion stopped, and a heap of rubble and debris was scattered throughout the forest. Everyone opened their eyes to see the still raging fires in front of them, and some of them wondered what they should do next. But the Anbu had small grins hidden behind their masks. Naruto was truly unpredictable. In relation to the two, unknown territory, Yugao rubbed her eyes open and rubbed her head. She half expected to see the Shinigami in front of her, but all she saw was darkness. Once more. The Anbu stood up and looked around. She raised her head and widened her eyes. They'd just fallen through the building's floor and ended up somewhere she had no idea where they were. She turned around to see Naruto standing up, and the blonde wiped some sweat from his brow. That was too close. Adheration. But that would take too much chakra, so I tried to close you and me in my sand and hoped it would cushion the impact. Looks like I got it right, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head, while Yugao looked at him incredulously. Before they looked around, she watched Naruto get to his feet. Naruto asked, "See anything in front of you?" Yugao shook her head. As he drew his fire sword, the blonde Tokibetsu Jonin sighed. He watched as it flared and illuminated the darkness around them. They noticed a series of tunnels leading in various directions. Which way should we go? Naruto inquired, but Yugao was at a loss for words. She'd never been here before. She hadn't even realized this place existed until now. She had a feeling that others were aware, but chose not to inform her. I suppose we could go that way, Yugao replied, and they walked down a path towards their unknown destination. The Hokage mansion. Did you come up with this as well, Tsunade? Inquired, and Tsunade chuckled with a sly grin on her face, already answering A's question. Darui and C knew they were dealing with a dangerous woman who took things like this to the extreme. They were surprised when they heard the explosion and couldn't understand how this sound didn't reach the rest of the village. But that's another story. Who, me? She asked, making A and his associates look at the three Jonin who were rubbing their hands from the paperwork they were doing. They had the sensation that their fingers were about to fall off. Tsunade-sama, could you please take a break? One of the Jonin asked, and Tsunade sighed and nodded. Very well. You three may depart. Please and thank you. Bring in the next 7 teams who failed at the Forest of Death, Tsunade said. And the Jonin cried tears of joy and nodded as they left. As they approached the pile, the next few Jonin gulped. Get to work, please, Tsunade said, cracking her knuckles, and all the Jonin nodded as they began to punish A and the others. I'm not even sure I could be like that, A said, leaning back in her chair. It's all about mentality, Reikage Dono, so let's keep watching, Tsunade said, as the others gathered around her to watch the daily HPT drop. Shizune and Kurenai are present. They both sighed as they examined what was in front of them. They were looking at a board for all Hokage advisors and being the Hokage's secretary. Kurenai leaned towards Shizune as if it were a small seminar for the rest of the group. Do you have any idea what this is even about? Kurenai inquired, and Shizune shook her head. She had been Tsunade's secretary, so she was familiar with most of these responsibilities, but she didn't understand why others had to learn them as well. Perhaps the Anbu were still plotting something and she just didn't know what it was. Regardless, the two ladies were counted among the Jonin who sat in the room with their leader's supporters. With the help of some of the genin. As he sat at a table, Sasuke sighed. He noticed how bored Choji, Shikamaru, and Ino appeared to be. Along with them, he noticed Lee, Tenten, and Neji. Does anyone know where their Jonin sensei is? Choji asked, prompting everyone to shake their heads. Tenten sighed as she tossed a teacup in her hands. I have no idea where our senseis are. I'm grateful for these few days off, but Guy Sensei never misses our training sessions. Tenten announced that Kiba, Haku, Sakura, and Hinata had arrived, and the pink-haired Kunoichi immediately approached Sasuke and hugged him, which irritated the Uchiha to no end. Sasuke-kun, I'm so glad you're back, Sakura said, making Sasuke roll his eyes. He didn't respond to her voice and tried not to register her presence at all. She was still an annoyance. It must have been difficult to reclaim Sasuke-san. But has anyone seen Kurenai-sensei? Hinata inquired, and everyone shook their heads as Chunin, Kiba, Haku, and Shikamaru could understand where everyone was and knew better than anyone where Naruto was at the time. I've never seen her. I'm just glad to have these days off. Shino adjusted his glasses and looked at the Hokage mansion as Ino sipped her tea. Perhaps all the Jonin and Tokibetsu Jonin are in a competition funded by Hokage-sama to determine the next Hokage of the village and couldn't tell us because we're genin, Shino speculated. And everyone stared at him. Shikamaru, Kiba, and Haku widened their eyes and looked around nervously before Chaoji burst out laughing. Wow, and I thought Shino had no sense of humor. That's quite wealthy. Sakura also laughed as Akamichi said. Just imagine Naruto Baka auditioning for such a competition. He could lose in the first event, Sakura said, and everyone quieted down, not saying anything while Sasuke stood to his feet. You really need to mature. Something is clearly going on here, and I intend to find out what it is. I haven't had any anbu on me in a few days. Anyone who wishes to do so may do so. As Sasuke walked away, Kiba looked at them and shrugged his shoulders as he followed the Uchiha, as did Haku and the others. Sigh, what a drag, Shikamaru said as he stood up and walked away, followed by Tenten, Ino, and Sakura, who were curious about what was going on. As they walked through the streets, they noticed 3 Jonin massaging their hands and approached them. What happened to the other Jonin and Anbu? Isn't it normal for them to be present? Tenten inquired, and the Jonin cast a glance at the genin before rubbing the backs of their heads and looking at each other. That's correct. Hasn't it been quiet around here? I have no idea where they could be, one of them said. But then Sasuke and Neji noticed the Jonin's minor tears and injuries on their bodies and realized something wasn't right. So, shoot. Perhaps we should pay a visit to Hokage-sama. I'm sure she knows something. As they walked away, the Jonin began to sweat as they watched the genin make their way towards the Hokage mansion, as Sakura suggested. Great, it appears that these kids are becoming suspicious. Kami has no idea what Tsunade-sama will do to us if they find out, the Jonin stated, convincing the others to agree with him. So, what are our options? The Jonin inquired, and they racked their brains, but the longer they stalled, the further the genin group walked away. Kiba, Haku, and Shikamaru began to sweat as they saw everyone arrive at the Hokage mansion. Come on, think of something, Kiba said, leaving Haku to mull it over while Shikamaru rubbed his chin and sighed before walking forward. Stop, guys, Nara said, and everyone stopped before turning around to face him. We can't simply walk into the Hokage mansion and demand an explanation. It really isn't our concern where our Jonin sensei goes. Besides, unless you've all forgotten, the Raikage is present. They could be having a meeting right now, and I don't think you want to interrupt both of them, Shikamaru told them. And everyone got cold feet before turning around. They didn't need to know that badly, and Kiba wiped his brow. That was too close, the Inuzuka Chunin said, drawing a nod from Haku and Shikamaru. I did buy us some time, but not much. I can only hope that it was enough to deter them for the time being. The Hokage is certainly pushing her luck, Shikamaru continued to speak to himself. She is known as the legendary sucker. We'll be lucky if the entire village doesn't find out when she's finished with this. Kiba and Shikamaru exchanged light chuckles as Haku responded. Oh well, I guess we'll just follow everyone else. Only Kami knows what will happen if we leave them alone, Shikamaru said as the 3 Chunin walked away to see their friends, along with the other Jonin. Kakashi, Genma, Anko, and Shikaku sighed as they looked through the wreckage, unable to find Naruto's or Yugao's bodies. They could only assume that they had escaped, but the whereabouts were unknown. Guys, he's not here. I know he's not. Genma dropped one and sighed as Anko looked over another board. He didn't just vanish into thin air with that Anbu. After all, they've got to be around here somewhere, right? While Kakashi opened one of the boards, Genma raised an eyebrow, smiled, and waved everyone over as they followed him. Naruto, you are truly unpredictable. Who knows how much time we wasted looking for you? Kakashi considered this as he noticed a small door leading into the ground beneath them. That sly brat. He definitely deserves to be my sensei. As everyone jumped through the floor into the long underground caverns, Anko smiled. Along with Naruto and Yugao, the pair had been walking for about an hour and had no idea where they were going. It was too dark to tell, but they knew the others would be there soon, and that being an hour ahead would be meaningless. Naruto growled and cursed as they walked for a few minutes until they reached a wall. Is it a dead end? The blonde wondered and Yugao guessed it was, but before they turned around to try something else, the earth behind them crumbled and revealed the rest of the way. Naruto and Yugao raised an eyebrow and nodded as they walked through the cavern. As they passed the entrance, it was quickly closed, forcing them to turn around quickly. This is becoming a pain, Naruto said, and Yugao couldn't help but agree. Soon, their progress was halted when they noticed a candle in the middle of the cavern floor. But what surprised them wasn't the candle, but an Anbu sitting in a lotus position on the ground, his mask glowing brightly from the candle fire. Someone has finally appeared, I see. I hadn't expected anyone so soon. While Naruto sighed, he spoke calmly. "Hello, where are we?" Naruto inquired, and the Anbu laughed. "I am where you are, and you are where I am." It's as simple as that. Naruto glared at him as Yugao rolled her eyes at what the Anbu said. "So, where have you and I gone?" Naruto inquired, and the Anbu smiled from behind his mask. "That is the question. We are in the Konoha Caverns. Nobody is aware of it, but this is the ultimate training ground. The Forest of Death is one level lower. This location is only known to the elite Anbu. Will you please sit so that we can talk?" The Anbu asked, and Naruto knelt, followed by Yugao, and the Anbu smiled. "Let's take it easy now. We can take our time exploring the caverns before getting down to business." Naruto sighed as the Anbu spoke. "Not to be impolite, but I don't have time to waste. Could we please get down to business?" Naruto inquired, and the Anbu laughed. "Busy, busy, busy. Sometimes it's nice to not be busy. Let's not fuss over the little things," the Anbu said. And if Naruto and Yugao knew anything about this guy, it was that he was unusually mellow for an Anbu. Naruto leaned in close to Yugao, whispering in her ear. "Do you know anyone?" Naruto inquired, and Yugao shook her head. For all she knew, Anbu were silly when there was nothing to do and serious when there was. Nobody had ever been so calm before. "Not someone I've seen," Yugao said, as the Anbu pulled out a cup and a drink. "Sake?" he asked, pouring a small drink into Naruto's cup as well as Yugao's. Both of them took the drink in their hands and closed their eyes. As the Anbu's smile widened, they carefully inspected the drinks and sipped them. He smiled as he set the drink down. "Now then, it's time to begin. One of you has taken a deadly poison. It is set to kill within 3 to 4 hours. It also stops your chakra for a total of 6 hours, so if you have any kind of escape route, it has been shut off to you. This is where we negotiate. I have the antidote right here and I want one of you to kill the other. Now then, can you follow my instructions?" Naruto asked, his eyes wide. Yugao turned to face him as he gulped. "You did this?" Naruto asked, and the Anbu defended himself by raising his hands. "Hey kid, just figure out who has the poison and see if you're willing to kill each other for the antidote," the Anbu said, waving it around, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. Yugao did as well. "It was you, Naruto-kun, you drank the poison, but it's difficult to get rid of. I could have it gone in an hour or so. But you'll be hurt for a while," Kyuubi said, and Naruto tensed. He was relieved that Yugao didn't have it, but he was also concerned for himself. Yugao noticed Naruto tensing and worried. She didn't feel any chakra drain, but she did notice Naruto's drop slightly. "Does he have it?" she wondered, and Naruto smiled as he breathed calmly. "Well, I refuse to kill Yugao-chan because she's precious to me, and a Hokage doesn't abandon their precious people. If you don't give me that cure, I'll simply walk past you and get out of here." "I refuse to die," Naruto said, and Yugao softly smiled. "You'll have to do better than that to convince me to murder my partner. Sorry, but I refuse," Yugao said, shrugging his shoulders. He just smiled and played with the bottle in his hands. This continued as Kyuubi attempted to rid himself of all the poison. She'd gotten so good over the years that Naruto tried to poison himself and she cured him all. Nothing man-made was going to stop her. "Alright, that section's done, now to destroy it before it reaches his vital organs," Kyuubi thought as she worked. Meanwhile, Naruto's breathing became more difficult as he began to sweat. As the Anbu chuckled, Yugao became increasingly concerned. "Well, either you two kill each other or no one gets this antidote," said the Anbu before Naruto laughed. "Stop being stupid. We all know by now that I have the poison. And you're expecting me to kill Yugao-chan to get it. But I'm not going to do it," Naruto said as his breathing became labored. He felt a sharp pain in his chest but dismissed it. He had another 2 to 3 hours. "Kyuubi-chan, I recognize Naruto-kun. There's more than I thought, but I'm getting rid of it. I need another 15 minutes, Kyuubi said, and Naruto's breath hitched once more. As he tried to focus, his vision became blurry. "Tell me, why aren't you going to kill her? You won't be Hokage if you can't make tough decisions in the world." "Shut up," yelled Naruto, startling the Anbu. "A Hokage makes difficult decisions for the benefit of the entire village. I refuse to kill one of my own to save myself. If I have to give up my dream to save her, I will. But I refuse to kill Yugao-chan," Naruto stated emphatically. The Anbu smirked and turned to face his candle. "Can you say that when this candle burns out, you'll die if you don't take this antidote?" "I doubt she feels the same way about you," said the Anbu calmly, and Naruto smiled. He then laughed, making Yugao wonder what was so amusing about the Anbu. "You'd never get it, team. It's not about having someone like me back. It's about doing the right thing. You might be willing to save yourself by risking your comrades, but I'm not. Those who kill their friends will grow dead inside. So if I kill her, I kill my humanity. If I don't, I die. Either way, I'm going to die one way or the other." Yugao felt her respect and affection for Naruto grow as the masked man examined the vial. There you have it, Naruto-kun, Kyuubi said, grinning. He advanced and touched the Anbu's armor. But luckily for me, I have a beautiful vixen who loves me enough to put up with something like this, Naruto said as the Anbu's eyes widened. Naruto jumped to his feet and crossed his fingers. You want to bargain? Fine, let's bargain on whether or not I kill you, Naruto yelled. Bunshin no Jutsu, Cage Bunshin, the blonde yelled as he dispatched numerous clones to deal with the Anbu. Soon, the vial appeared in front of Naruto and Yugao, and Naruto opened it, taking it in his mouth and drinking half of it before passing the other to Yugao. Simply in case. I don't want you to die for me, Naruto said, and Yugao drank the antidote as well. They grinned as they noticed the wall behind him collapse, and they left just as easily. Did you really mean what you said? Yugao inquired, and Naruto turned to face her. What is it about? He asked, admiring her beauty, which was enhanced by the flames of his sword next to him. Yugao smiled as she scratched her cheek. Did you really mean that I was precious to you? Yugao asked, and Naruto smiled. Your name is Yugao Yuzuki. You're a member of Konoha's ANBU. You like to look at the moon at night. You like to use kenjutsu just like I do. You're 22 years old within a blood type. Your birthday is November the 3rd. Your best friends are Anko Mitarashi, Kurenai Yuhai, and Hana and Yuzuka. You like to have soft drinks when you're alone. As Naruto walked away, the blonde smiled at her Anbu's genuine surprise. Yugao followed him until she passed him and came to a halt in front of the blonde Tokibetsu Jonin. Who knew? She inquired, and Naruto smiled as he rubbed the back of his neck. Well, you see, I asked Anko-chan and Kurenai-chan about you. I wasn't prying. I was just interested in you, Naruto explained, and Yugao gave him a blank stare before smiling. Two people could totally play that game. Your name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. You're a Tokibetsu Jonin of Konoha's shinobi force. You like ramen and train when you have time. You probably love kenjutsu as much as I do. You're 13 years old with a B blood type. Your birthday is October 10th. Your parents are Konoha's Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, who calls me Bloodline Ninja, Naruto inquired, and Yugao smirked. Oh, pretty much everyone who has seen you fight, Yugao said, and Naruto snorted. Well, it's obvious you know about me, so why did you say we hardly know each other? Naruto inquired, and Yugao chuckled before brushing her hair. It's because I wasn't sure if you knew me that well, but you do, which is surprising, but that's beside the point. You're really interesting, Yugao said, rubbing the back of Naruto's head. Interesting enough for the future Hokage to ask an Anbu out. Naruto wondered, and Yugao raised an eyebrow slightly. She smiled and chuckled as she rested her hand on her side. Interesting enough, I suppose. I like my yakisoba with red wine. Just so you know, Yugao said as she surprised Naruto by kissing the cheek and walking away. Kyuubi as Naruto blushed. Compound Namikaze. Whoa, that shithead has some balls after all, Teuya said, making Kasumi laugh. That's Naruto-sama, always wanting to get to know someone, she remarked, smirking. I can't believe I'm marrying a guy with a CRA. It's unbelievable, Yujito responded, and Nanabi was also on the couch watching the event unfold. He really is a man. I wonder how good he is, Nanabi said, and Kasumi blushed as she recalled her own experience. He's like a sex commie, as Anko would say, Kasumi exclaimed, widening everyone's eyes. Fu, Yujito, Nanabi, and, strangely, Teuya all stared at Kasumi as she slowly stood up. I'm going now, she said as she ran away, but the air was tense as everyone stood up. Get back here and tell us what that means. They all yelled as they chased Kasumi down, demanding answers. Kimimaro turned to face Kushina, who chuckled. Are you not also running after her? He asked, his face expressionless. Kushina smirked as she leaned back against the couch. Sachai told me something. Old enough to kill, old enough to drink, gamble, and have sex. Just like Minato, I swear. Kushina continued to watch her son and his new date walk to the cavern's exit, along with Naruto and Yugao. The two walked in silence until they came to a light at the end of the tunnel. As they walked inside, they both sighed. Naruto exclaimed as he looked around. When he looked around, his eyes widened. It was a massive stadium with rows of seats and a small field in the center. It was nice and suitable for battle. Many people would be able to watch as well. Welcome, brat, someone yelled, and Naruto turned to see Tsunade waving at him. As Naruto and Yugao approached her, his eyes widened at the sight of her. Ba-chan, you're sick. This tournament is so strange, why are you doing it? Naruto inquired, and Tsunade smiled. Because I need to test you all, Tsunade said, raising an eyebrow. I find it amazing that you completed the 4th event, brat. You show very good determination, but show me if you have the skill to back it up. Don't worry, it will be explained in the next event. You've made it to the final event, so just sit there with your Anbu and wait for instructions, Tsunade said. Naruto gave her a stern look but nodded. He wondered if that last event could even be classified as an event. But he passed, and that was all that mattered. "Hey Naruto," someone said, and the blonde turned around. He widened his eyes as he noticed several Chunin entering the stadium. "Hiba, Haku, Shikamaru, what are you doing here?" Naruto inquired, pointing up. "Didn't you know we're below the Hokage mansion? It's amazing what you're doing." Tsunade-sama said all Chunin could watch if they wanted, but civilians and genin weren't allowed, so this is a surprise. "We're just about to fill the stadium. We can't wait to see what happens," Haku said as Naruto leaned back in his chair. Was that it? A long journey from the Hokage stone faces to the Hokage mansion. Naruto felt like slapping himself. "I despise her," Naruto said to himself, making everyone laugh. "Oh, thank goodness Naruto-kun made it," Shizune exclaimed as he rushed over to hug the blonde. Naruto smiled as he noticed Kurenai approaching from behind her. "Hey guys, where were you?" Naruto inquired, and Kurenai sighed, arms folded and eyes closed. "We were taking a small course on how to be Hokage secretaries for reasons we don't understand. Who knows what this is about?" Kurenai shrugged. "At least you were threatened with killing your partner, so I'd say you got off easy," Yugao said, as Kurenai glared at her. "Nice to see you, Yugao," Kurenai said, and Yugao smiled and nodded. Everyone watched as Chunin, Anbu, and defeated Jonin filled the stadium. Naruto even encountered Haino Kuni's daimyo alongside Tsunade, Reikage, Darui, and see it was becoming even more crowded. But 2 hours later, more Jonin began to enter as some discovered Naruto and Yugao sitting patiently. "Naruto, what you did was very mean and dangerous. I'm going to remember that," Anko said. And Naruto chuckled as he rubbed the back of his head. Everyone returned to their groups, and the fourth event began and ended just as quickly. Tsunade stood up and walked up to the podium. "How many of you have enjoyed this HPT?" Tsunade inquired, and dozens of people applauded. They had a lot of fun with it because they thought it was over, but they had forgotten the Anbu's words. "Well, since this is the last event, we'll make it count and make it count big. See that arena? You'll be having a 2-on-2 fight with the others. Although I have a small secret. There was a bonus round that made you even more eligible to do this round. Those who completed the exercise were Kakashi Hatake, Enko Midarashi, Genma Shiranui, Shikaku Nara, and Naruto Uzumaki Namika." "Yes, Hokage-sama," Tenzo replied, and Tsunade smiled. "Those who didn't get to do it are disqualified. You have to be quick to achieve things or you'll miss out on opportunities," Tsunade said, as some of the Jonin sighed. They all nodded, but they were having fun. They truly did. It was a fantastic time, and some thanked their friends for accompanying them. Tsunade paused for a moment to allow everyone to settle before summoning the 5 in front of her to the field. They all followed Naruto as his friends wished him luck. As they faced their Hokage, everyone stood in a single file across from each other. "Through all of your trials, you have tried and persevered, and you all have the qualities that make you a Kage. But now I want to see your battle wits. I will call out a name at random, and I want to see you fight it out. Anything is allowed, so use it to the best of your abilities," Tsunade said, and the 5 nodded. She smiled and looked around. "Doesn't it remind you of the Chunin exams?" Naruto asked, and the other nodded before Tsunade raised her hand. "Shikaku Nara versus Kakashi Hatake," Tsunade yelled, and the two exchanged glances. People cheered for the Jonin commander and the copy ninja as Naruto, Anko, and Genma left the field. Kakashi chuckled as the two exchanged stares. Shikaku raised an eyebrow at him, wondering what was so amusing about him. "It's just that I never expected to be fighting you. It'll be an interesting experience for me," Kakashi said, as Shikaku narrowed his eyes and smiled. He quickly nodded and clasped his hands together. "I agree. I never thought I'd get to fight you. But I'm not going to back down, even if it's annoying," Shikaku said, and Kakashi nodded. Tsunade yelled Hajime, and Kakashi threw a kunai at Shikaku, who blocked it with his own. The underground stadium erupted with excitement as Kakashi closed the gap between himself and Shikaku. He'd fought Nara before and knew that a long-range fight would put him at a disadvantage. Shikaku narrowed his eyes as he tried to devise a strategy to counter the copy Jonin. But he was quickly forced to dodge a barrage of kicks and punches from Kakashi. The Jonin grinned as he attacked the Nara head quickly and furiously. Shikaku deflected a punch to the face by grabbing Kakashi's wrist. He used a sweep kick, but Kakashi jumped over it and spun in the air to deliver a kick to Shikaku's face, causing the Jonin commander to wince and skid back. He wiped the blood from his mouth before smiling at Kakashi, who had his hands in his pockets. Bothersome Jonin, Shikaku said, rubbing his neck in the same way Shikamaru did. Shikaku yelled, Kagemain no Jutsu, then cast his shadow at Kakashi. The Jonin widened his eyes and quickly maneuvered to avoid the shadow, knowing that if Shikaku caught him, it was game over. It's not that simple, Shikaku-san, Kakashi explained as he demonstrated some hand signs. Katen, Gakakyu no Jutsu, yelled Kakashi, sending the ball of fire after Nara. Shikaku growled as he relaxed his technique to avoid the massive fireball before reaching into his pouch and pulling out some wire. Shikaku grinned as he threw 3 kunai at Kakashi, who easily dodged them before Shikaku landed on his feet and did his hand sign. Shikaku said, Kage Nui no Jutsu, as his shadow grabbed Kakashi and bound him to the spot where he was. When he saw Shikaku pull out a flash bomb, the Jonin's eyes narrowed. It appears that I'm in trouble, Kakashi said as Shikaku sighed. He threw the flash bomb at Kakashi's feet, and the Jonin covered his eyes as Shikaku threw a kunai. But he forgot who he was facing. Shikaku's eyes narrowed as the kunai passed through the light without touching anything. Shikaku wondered, where are you? Before realizing who he was fighting. The Jonin backflipped away as Kakashi emerged from the ground, staring at the Nara. So you figured it out, huh? Kakashi inquired, to which Shikaku snorted. After all, I've fought with you before, so I know you pretty well, Shikaku said, and Kakashi nodded before giving him a serious look. Then it's about time I got serious. This will be the quickest time anyone has forced me to use this, Kakashi said, lifting his headband. Yeah, Kakashi, show us all your youth flames, Guy exclaimed as Asuma sighed. I can only be thankful that I'm not involved in that. It'd be too much of a pain in the ass, the Jonin said as he watched Shikaku deflect a kick from Kakashi. The Jonin narrowed his eyes as his Sharingan flared until he noticed the Nara smirk. Gotcha, Shikaku said, looking down at Kakashi. When he saw an explosion kunai under him, he gasped and quickly shifted into a defensive position as the blast exploded near him. He jumped out of the smoke and laughed. That was close again. It's rare for you to get serious, Kakashi said before turning around to see Shikaku gone. He raised an eyebrow, wondering where the Jonin commander had gone. But he got his answer when the floor went black. Kakashi's eyes widened as shadows crept along the stadium's walls and slowly encircled him. He narrowed his eyes as he felt the Nara overtake him. Shikaku said as he emerged from the ground, Kage Zetsubo Sekai. As he sighed, Kakashi was trapped inside a massive ball of shadow. Shikaku smirked as he touched the ball's rim. 3 presses and you're crushed, Shikaku said, and Kakashi narrowed his eyes. He quickly shut them and made his hand signs. Shikaku hit the ball, shrinking it, and Naruto and everyone else watched with bated breath. 1, he said, and everyone wondered if Shikaku really intended to kill Kakashi. 2, he said as he hit the ball, causing it to compress once more. As he stared forward, Kakashi's hand glowed with lightning. THR, Reikiri, Kakashi yelled as he pierced through the shadow, escaping Shikaku's grasp. As he rose to his feet, Kakashi smirked. I'm not out of this yet, Shikaku. We're just getting started, Kakashi said, shaking Shikaku's head. No, this over, Shikaku said, and Kakashi wondered where he met Shikaku, who pointed to the ground between Kakashi's legs. The Jonin's eyes widened as he looked down at the explosion tag. Exactly as planned, Shikaku said as the tag exploded, knocking Kakashi out of the small field. He collided with the wall and collapsed to the floor. The Jonin chuckled and shook his head before rubbing the back of his neck. I can't get anything past you, Shikaku, Kakashi said as Shikaku assisted him in getting up. I had you figured out at least 3 steps ahead of time, the Nara said before Kakashi chuckled. Not really, the Jonin said with a poof, widening Shikaku's eyes. A Kage Bunshin, he inquired as Kakashi pulled out a scroll. He traced his thumb over the scroll with his biting thumb. You're not the only one with tricks, Shikaku, Kakashi said as he slammed his fist against the ground. Kuchios, Daten, Suiga no Jutsu, yelled Kakashi as seals ran through the ground before it tore up. Shikaku felt the ground tremble before performing his hand signs. Shikaku yelled, Kuro Higanbana, and his shadow quickly captured what was aimed at him, which were Kakashi's dogs that he summoned with his contract. Some people were in awe as the Jonin narrowed their eyes at each other. They've used so many techniques, but they're not even close to being exhausted, Haku said as Shikamaru stared at his father. Despite his attitude, the old man knows how to train when he wants. After all, he is the Jonin commander, Shikamaru said, prompting Kiba and Haku to nod before they were joined by Inoichi and Chusa. That's right, he's good. That's why he's the leader, able to make precise calculations, analyze and plan a step ahead, then act accordingly. That's why he's got the potential to be the Hokage. It's a shame the other Jonin who weren't the leaders aren't fighting, but followers can't be the Hokage. There is almost no one better than Shikaku, Inoichi said as everyone watched the two. Well, you can't count out Kakashi-sensei. He's our sensei, after all, Kiba said, and Haku had to agree. The two Jonin had been fighting for over an hour and were both exhausted. Shikaku and Kakashi both did a backflip. Kakashi's left eye twitched as the two huffed. Too much use of the Sharingan. I won't be able to hold out much longer, and I still have other fights to do, Kakashi thought to himself as Shikaku sighed. I'll settle it with this, Shikaku said, casting a shadow at Kakashi. The Jonin jumped into the air and threw a kunai at the Jonin commander, who dodged, but Kakashi quickly moved behind him and held the kunai to his neck. It's all over now, Kakashi said, and Shikaku nodded. Shikaku moved and Kakashi lowered his kunai, saying, that's right, it's over. Shikaku turned around and made a single hand sign, and he sighed. The Jonin chuckled as his shadow crept up to Kakashi's neck. I give up, Kakashi said, and Shikaku let go of his grip. As Tsunade approached the podium, they both fell to the ground and laughed. Winner, Shikaku Nara, Tsunade announced, and the entire underground stadium applauded as the Anbu easily led Kakashi and Shikaku off the field. Tsunade smiled as he looked around at the others. The next fight is Anko Mitarashi versus Genma Shiranui, Tsunade announced, as the two rose to their feet. Konoha's Snake Mistress versus the Hokage's elite bodyguard, Tsum said as Kiba sat down next to her. Ka-chan, why are you doing this? I thought you'd jump at the chance, Kiba said as Tsum patted Kiramaru on the head. It's nothing, pup. Besides, I'll soon be the Hokage's head girlfriend, so I'm close, Tsum said, and everyone laughed when she mentioned Naruto. Kiba laughed as he watched them squabble. So who's better? They're both Tokibetsu Jonin like Naruto-kun, Haku asked, and everyone nodded. I think Genma will win because he has a lot more experience than Anko, Shibai said before being interrupted. Anko will win. I hate to admit it, but having Naruto as our sensei has done massive improvements for us, as you'll see, Kurenai said, and Yugao and Hana, who had just arrived, smirked. I had no idea you needed Naruto-kun training, Yugao said, and Kurenai laughed. That was something that a lot of people said to her. Have you seen him fight? Kurenai asked, and Yugao shook her head, but he had to be good to be a Tokibetsu Jonin at such a young age. Then you'll see in the next fight, Kurenai said, making Yugao nervous, while Kiba, Haku, Tsum, and Hana knew exactly what Kurenai meant. How many fights have there been, Genma? Anko asked, licking her lips. Genma laughed as he removed a senbon from his mouth. Ever since you, me, and Reito were on the Genin squads those years ago, if I had to guess, you and I had 0 wins, 0 losses, and 99 draws. Feels nostalgic, doesn't it? Genma asked as Anko closed her eyes. She smirked as she recalled her childhood. She was gifted with the ability to arrive at the academy early, and was easily the best with Kurenai and Kakashi, so she was assigned to the team with Genma and Reito. That was back in the day. This will be my first win against you, Anko said as she pulled out a kunai. Genma rolled his eyes and removed the senbon from his mouth. Then let's go before I die of boredom, Genma said, and Anko feigned a forced smile that twitched slightly. Hajime, Tsunade yelled, and Anko quickly erased the gap between herself and Genma, causing the Hokage's elite bodyguard to gasp slightly. Anko smiled as she kicked him across the face, causing him to collide with a wall. I'm not holding back, Anko said as she turned to face Naruto. Anko quickly turned around after the blonde gave her a thumbs up. Genma emerged from the ruins, grinning as he brushed his lips. Damn, that hurt. She's never been hit that hard before. She's been training hard, Genma said before charging at Anko. The two quickly got into a taijutsu fight, each blocking the other's kicks and punches. Genma leapt into the air and attempted to kick Anko across the face, but the purple-haired snake mistress saw it coming and ducked beneath it before smiling. Right back at you, Anko said, kicking Genma into the air. When he saw Anko leap into the air, the Jonin cursed. Have you been training Genma? Anko inquired as she performed an over-the-head drop kick, but Genma blocked it and smiled as he flipped Anko over. Still vulnerable to tricks, Genma said, as Anko let go of her right hand and they fell to the ground. Anko grabbed Genma's arm and flung him over her body, landing on the field below. Anko and Genma both laughed. Before Anko closed her eyes, the two cracked their knuckles. I've worked hard with a good as hell Gaki, and he really knows his stuff, Genma. I'm not going to lose again, Anko said, quickly going through her hand signs. While Genma smiled, she quickly took a breath of air. Katen, Raika no Jutsu, Anko yelled, hurling a blazing fire at Genma, who only smiled. Suten, Kaiknaeki no Jutsu, Genma yelled, hurling water at Anko's fire, which quickly extinguished, forcing Anko to dodge out of the way. Where did you get that water? Anko inquired, and Genma chuckled. No telling, Genma said as he dashed towards Anko. The snake mistress rose to her feet and blocked a punch from Genma before kicking him in the right leg. Anko smiled as Genma winced slightly. Isn't it just like old times? Anko asked, and Genma nodded. Yeah, it's entertaining, he said, causing Anko to backflip and Genma to halt his assault. As the snake mistress chuckled again, he grinned at Anko. She was enjoying herself. Anko quickly took out a smoke bomb and used it to cover her tracks. Genma dilated his pupils and looked around. Tricks, Anko? Genma inquired, and Anko smiled as her voice echoed back to her. You know me, I like to be unpredictable, Anko said, throwing a kunai at Genma. The Jonin caught one, and the two collided once more as they kunai created sparks that flashed across the entire arena. I remember you telling me a long time ago that winning wasn't everything, Anko said. And Genma nodded with a roll of the eyes. That's true, but in this case, it's the only thing that matters, he said before feeling pain in his back. Before turning to Anko, he turned around and noticed 3 kunai embedded in his backside. Sneaky snake, Genma said, and Anko nodded gratefully before Genma grabbed her arm, causing Anko to raise an eyebrow. She smirked as she saw the real Genma emerge from the ground. Anko-chan, there's still a long way to go. Kai, Genma said as the person next to her exploded. While Naruto grinned, the stadium covered their eyes. He trained Anko better than that, or at least tried. The dust settled as everyone turned to see Genma as the sole person on the field. He chuckled before sucking his teeth as he saw multiple snakes slither away. Hebai Bunshin Ho, Genma thought to himself before seeing Anko leap into the air. She spun her body while making various hand gestures. I'd like to see you try to put this out, Anko said as she blew a fire around herself. Because of her spinning and the additional rotation of her body, the fires spread throughout her body, completely covering the Jonin as it took the form of a spiraling fire heading for Genma. I've never seen that, Naruto thought to himself, and Genma's eyes widened. Katen, Jabu Kaiten, Anko yelled as she slammed into the ground, causing it to explode, while Genma backed away. Before his headband fell to the ground, he growled. Great, so she's that serious, Genma said as he rubbed the back of his neck, but he forgot to account for Anko's new speed from her training. Too slow, Genma, Anko said, and Genma's eyes widened. Genma tried to rebound after she kicked him across the back, but Anko was too quick, throwing a kunai into the air. She then chased after Genma, kicking him into the air. Genma winced in pain, puzzled as to how he could access his chakra before widening his eyes. Sneaky snake, Genma remarked as Anko took her kunai. Make this one win, 0 losses, and 99 draws for me, Genma, Anko said as she kicked Genma to the ground. She then landed next to him on the ground, and the elite Jonin to the Hokage rolled his eyes. Well, I didn't notice that chakra seal tag. You did it when we were in the middle of that small explosion with my Bunshin. I didn't realize it in time, and I paid for it. I quit, Genma explained, and Anko laughed. Winner Anko Mitarashi, Tsunade announced, and Anko walked away. But everyone's grin grew along with Tsunade's. Finally, I get to see what he's capable of, Yugao said, a small smile on her lips. I wonder how he compares to an Anbu, Kurenai thought to herself as Anko turned around. After all, she couldn't wait to see this. It was about to get better. She wondered if the stadium could accommodate both of them. They'll get it done, Gaki, Anko said as the Namikaze compound gathered once more. Yes, I finally get to see what this shithead is all about, Tayuya said, and Kimimaro agreed. Everyone was focused on the ball in front of them. Tsum smiled as she saw her boyfriend stand up. It's time to see if he can truly accomplish the impossible, Tsum said, and everyone nodded. Naruto and Tenzo, the Anbu, both approached the platform. Naruto made a request as the two exchanged stares. Take off the mask, Naruto said, raising an eyebrow. He asked Tsunade for her approval, and she nodded. The Anbu reached for his mask and removed it. His face was ordinary, but he had brown hair and a medium build. Naruto smiled and closed his eyes. He absorbed everything. The sounds of the crowds, the cheering, and the atmosphere. Win, Naruto-kun. I didn't train you so hard for you to lose. Go get him, Foxy-kun, Kyuubi said, and Naruto nodded. Tenzo was greeted by the sight of Naruto's eyes when he opened his eyes. The same blue eyes as before, but with small, white, kunai-shaped pupils. Naruto shifted into a high Jonin stance, and Tenzo followed suit. It's time for some fun, Databeo, Naruto said, and Tenzo smiled. Very well, Uzumaki Namikaze-san. Let's put on a good show for everyone, Tenzo said as Tsunade raised her hand.
So this was it for today. I will continue the story next part. Till then, we weave offline.